St. Louis, here we go. Bean, Slaunch, Roman, and Camby lining up at the gate. St. Louis revamp. It's a little bit different than the St. Louis you saw at last Champ Series. Definitely notice a few differences as we go through the track. If you remember the old version, it's very similar. There's just a few sections that are different or tuned up a little bit. But anyways, gates down. So you gets the hole shot. No hole shot marker on this track because I must have forgot to add it with my new budget. The old version, I literally didn't have enough budget to have a hole shot. So looked like Slaunch had the hole shot, but coming through the whoops, it's going to be a close battle. Slaunch running out with the lead, Bean and Roman side by side. And Camby stuck pretty far back in fourth. And this is what I was talking about with Camby, needing to have a really good performance at the oval because he tends to struggle more on Supercross. So being back there is, off the start immediately. It's probably not going to help him out that much. And here's one of the sections that you can see that is different. Two different lines through there. You can hit the outside line, which is the faster line, but a little bit harder, a little bit more tricky. Or you can hit the inside line, which is a roll line, and it's easier but slower. I'd say about a goose length slower, but it's definitely easier to hit. Definitely more consistent. You can see those little inside rollers in that turn over there. That was a new addition. These whoops are different. More of an actual, instead of it just being like a line that you took that would be faster, it's more of an actual rhythm that you have to find through them to be faster now. That section, that neg camber is different. There used to not be a berm there. I think there was. It was just crappy. It wasn't placed very well. So now there's a berm there. This section's the same as far as I can tell. Or at least pretty similar. It might be different. I don't know. Pretty sure it's the same. As you can see, Bean struggling with the outside there. That's what I was saying. That outside's definitely tricky. And then you go into this rhythm section, which is reworked a little bit. For the most part, it's pretty similar. But as you can see, the end of it is definitely reworked. I'd say the lines are pretty even through there, honestly. I don't really think there's a faster way. It's just whichever line you take better. It's probably the most balanced rhythm on the track. The other rhythms tend to have lines that are better. That rhythm, I think, is just whichever one you're more comfortable with, really. Speaking of which, I should remind everybody in the stream, if they haven't already, I basically said fudge it today, and I put up the votes for Champ Series tracks. I was gonna wait until we hit 16, and then I said, you know what? If I wait till we get 16, then we're gonna hit the deadline before we get 16 people. So at that point, we're gonna end up having like 4 people. Or 4 people? My bad, not 4 people. We're gonna end up having 4 days to practice for the first track. I don't know why I can't talk now. I'm having a stroke, guys. Just bear with me. 4 days to practice, and that's just not enough in my opinion. I think there should be at least a week, especially since it's the first track. I think to remedy this for next season, we'll probably do, like, this season's track submission. We extended quite a bit. Oh wait, hold up. Bean goes off the berm. He's actually having a pretty good run, but goes off the berm, and now he's in third and choking the frickin' triple right there. I don't know if Camby will be able to catch up, but Bean definitely rough right there because now Roman's in front. And you can see this heat, this is completely this is completely unlike the St. Louis heat from the old St. Louis heat, if you remember it, because this is so stretched out, whereas the old St. Louis heat was very close throughout the entire. I think both heats are pretty close. I don't really remember. Part of that could be a few things. Part of that could be just the Supercross drivers that we have in this heat. Part of that too could also be the track. I think this track's harder than the. I think this version of the track's harder than the old version. So the old version was more about taking corners, I guess, and I think that was a big portion of where you'd gain time. Is the way you took corners, because a lot of the jumps were pretty similar, and a lot of people had the fast line figured out. So, like, for example, in the old version, this jump right here, that neg camber, was actually huge on the old version. That whole section was probably one of the biggest sections on the track. The whoops were big. If you screwed up your whoop run, you'd be done. And I'd say that part right... Okay. that part right there, that rollover, that is probably one of the most important as well, and the corner exiting it. That's kind of how you had to gain time in the old track. This track, it's similar, but I think there's more emphasis on this version of the track in how you take the jumps. Not just the turns, but the jumps as well, which should be, that should be the case in Supercross. So, yeah, next season to remedy it, I think we'll just do track submission. What in the... Uh... Oh! Well, we'll, let's forget we saw that. Back to the race. I'm just going to avoid that. Not going to talk about that. All right, moving on. Getting close to the end of the race here. Running order is Slaunch, Roman, Bean, Camby. And I don't know if we're at white flag, but I think we're getting close to the end. So yeah, next season, I want to have track submission. Let's say we open track submission once All-Star hits, because All-Star is like halfway point of the season. And then let's close track submission at the very last race, so like the last wildcard race, before Champ Series even. And then we'll close voting like once Champ Series hits. And that way we'll know from Champ Series throughout the entire 2-week off season what the tracks will be and the schedule is. So I think that'll be nicer. I'm assuming... Okay, that's the end. So Slaunch just took the win. And pulling off the track quickly because, like I said, we're trying to keep the show running as efficiently as possible. Roman coming up second. Bean, he's freaking whips across the finish liner. Hilarious. Bean coming up third, and then obviously here's Camby going to come up in fourth. So there you go. There's your first heat. We're going to get the second one lined up for St. Louis. No reaction in the chat. Did everybody just miss what I just witnessed?